everyone. I am Athena Calderone, creator of iSpoon. I'm so excited to be here today on behalf of Nespresso. My background is basically as an interior designer and as a chef and also as an entertaining expert. And I love nothing more when I get to kind of unify all of my worlds. And I've had the opportunity over the past 3 years to develop such a beautifully authentic relationship with Nespresso, and we've kind of worked together over the years, supported really exciting initiatives, Nespresso actually supported my book launch that was in February called Live Beautiful. So we've really developed this just authentic relationship. And I'm so excited to be here this holiday season, again with Nespresso, to celebrate their Festive collection, which is such an incredible collection. I've had the opportunity to taste each of the capsules in the Festive collection, and one of them is pecan biscotti, and the other one is amaretti, and then the Il Caffè is the one that I chose to pair together with the dessert that I'm going to make for you today. So I am going to make a chocolate soufflé cake. And this is a cake that I have been making for years and years, probably 15 or more years. And today I'm going to make it, and I'm going to pair it together with the Il Caffè. The reason I chose the Il Caffè is because it is that quintessential classic Italian espresso. It just really brings you back to being in Italy, which is a place that I love, and also a place where I've had chocolate soufflé very often. I just love the kind of rich, velvety texture. The aroma just takes you right back to Italy. So we are gonna get together right now. We're gonna dive into baking. I love the flavors. I love how kind of light and airy the soufflé cake is. The reason that it comes out so airy is because I'm gonna whip together some egg whites, which really gives it that kind of, light, lofty feeling. So even though we're gonna have these beautifully rich and decadent flavors, it's gonna be really light and airy. So let's just dive into the process. It's a pretty simple recipe, and yeah, I think the first thing that you should be doing is warming up your oven. I have preheated my oven to 350 degrees and it's already hot. And I've taken all of my ingredients and I've laid them out here for you guys. We basically have 12 ounces of bittersweet chocolate. I have egg yolks and egg whites that are at room temperature. I have my sugar, vanilla, and unsalted butter. And then of course I have these beautiful kumquats and blood oranges. I really love that combination of that rich chocolate with the citrus, and I think it pairs beautifully with the Nespresso Il Caffè in the Festive collection. So the first thing that I'm going to do is take our chocolate and our butter, and I'm going to go over to a double boiler that I have set up here. So I'm going to turn that on. Essentially, a double boiler is just that you have water in your pot, you have a metal bowl on top of it. I'm gonna lower the temperature to be medium. I am going to put my chocolate right in there, and I am going to take 8 tablespoons or 1 stick of butter and combine that together with the chocolate. I'm going to grab myself a spatula and just kind of allow this to melt. You want it to cool off. Before you add all your other ingredients, you want the chocolate to cool off. So I'm going to transfer it into this bowl because if it stays in the metal bowl, it will just continue to retain heat. All right, I think we are almost ready. A couple of pieces of butter are still in there. Okay. So I one of the most fun parts of doing this specific festive collection with Nespresso was that I got the opportunity to engage with each of you guys. And I love that I shared with you 2 different recipes, and we went through the process of you guys telling me which one you wanted to make. And it was either going to be this pear tart that I've been making for quite a while, or this chocolate souffle cake. And this is the winning recipe. This is the one that you guys all decided I should make. So I hope that you all make the recipe, and I hope that you will share and tag Nespresso so that we can all see what you've made, and Nespresso is actually going to share all of your creations. I will share the hashtag with you guys as well as soon as I finish putting all of these ingredients together. So we have our chocolate. For the sake of time, I'm probably gonna begin to add my ingredients, but if you're gonna make this recipe at home, you should allow this chocolate to cool. So I have vanilla extract here, and I have some salt. And at this point, I'm gonna add 1/3 cup of sugar. The recipe calls for 2/3 cup of sugar, but you're going to separate that because we're using 1/3 here in the chocolate, and the other 1/3 is going to go with our egg whites, which is what's going to make it that kind of light and airy texture. So I have separated 5 eggs. These are 5 egg yolks, and you are going to add 1 of these in at a time. Whoop. Actually, guys, I am gonna grab my whisk. All right, so you really want to incorporate each yolk as you go. So I am gonna add 1 tablespoon of flour. I like to add the flour, but just so that you guys know, if anyone is gluten-free and doesn't want to include the flour, the cake still comes together beautifully without it. But I like the texture that the flour actually adds. So how easy was that? Our chocolate is ready. Just gonna set it aside. And what I'm gonna do now is take our egg whites. So I have an electric mixer right here. I am gonna beat these egg whites until they start to form soft peaks. And then once the soft peaks form, I'm gonna add the sugar and continue to whip them until you get more stiff peaks that hold their shape. So it's gonna get a little loud. Okay. One advice I have when you're making your whipped egg whites, these have to be used immediately. You really want that fluffiness, and if you let them kind of sit for a while, they will lose all of that air that you've whipped into them. So you definitely want to use this immediately. It's not something that will wait for you. So I'm going to incorporate this a little bit at a time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take about 1/4 of our egg whites and I'm going to whisk those in. But then the remaining egg whites, after I whisk these, I'm going to fold in. And this is really important because the reason you're folding the rest of the egg whites rather than whisking them is you really want to make sure that you retain that air we just incorporated in. And folding is super simple. Basically, you're just making sure that you're delicately kind of cutting through your egg whites and literally folding them into the chocolate. If you whip them too much or if you stir really quickly, then you're gonna lose all that air that we just took the time to incorporate. And that is the most important part of this recipe because the kind of fluffy, airy texture is what makes it so decadent and so delicious. I should probably mention to you guys that prior to beginning, I took a springform pan, 9-inch springform pan. It's right here. And I buttered it. I added a piece of parchment paper on the bottom, and then I buttered on top of that as well. So as soon as this is incorporated, I'm gonna put it into the oven, and I'm gonna bake it for about 28 minutes. And as I mentioned earlier, I really love that the interior of this cake is a bit gooey in texture. If that is something that you do not want, you can cook it for closer to 30 minutes or 31 minutes. But I really like that interior to be just a little bit gooey. So let's put our chocolate mixture right into our springform pan. And I want it to be level, but just like I didn't want to whisk the chocolate and the egg whites, I also want to gently even out the chocolate. I never want to kind of bang down on the pan because that would take out all that airiness again. All right, so 350 degree oven, 28 minutes. Let's get this guy in the oven, bottom rack. This is what your cake is going to look like. You'll see that the top is all kind of crackled and it's fallen in on itself. That is what's supposed to happen. It's actually a fallen souffle cake, so don't feel like you messed it up. You kind of want that interior to cave in, especially because it's a little gooey in the center right there. Let's get this guy dressed up. I'm gonna put some citrus as I make myself an Il Caffè, Nespresso. So I have gone ahead and I have candied some slices of blood orange. And if you can't find blood orange, it's fine. You can also use navel orange. You can also use cara orange. I also have some kumquats. The reason that I chose to add kumquats with the blood orange is I like to always engage different shapes. So I am literally just going to haphazardly place some of these pieces of citrus, and I'm kind of putting them just on one side of the cake because I like asymmetry. And then again, I am literally just going to put some of these kumquats on the cake, and then I'm going to dust it with sugar as well. But before I dust it with sugar, let's make our Il Caffè Nespresso. I've already gone ahead and put a pod into the Nespresso machine, and we'll just wait for this guy to be made. It's the perfect cup. All right. So I also wanted to share with everyone that if you make this recipe, which I hope you do, please share it on social media. You will hashtag Nespresso Editions and also tag Nespresso, and Nespresso will reshare some of your recipes. So let's get this finishing touch. All right. I mean, guys, how pretty is that? It's like the perfect snowfall. All right, I am going to cut myself a piece of this chocolate souffle cake and have it with my Il Caffè. I love to pair anything together. I love pairing things together when I do a design project. I love pairing flavors together when I'm cooking. And most of all, I love pairing something sweet and decadent with Nespresso, and this Il Caffè is so perfect. I'm gonna take a sip right now. It's so good. And I'm gonna cut myself a piece. And then as soon as I indulge in this decadence, I want to open it up to you guys to see if you have any questions to ask me, anything about baking, about the holidays, about Il Caffè. Wow, I just cut myself a massive piece, but I mean, it's the holidays, right? All right. It's so good. It has that light interior texture. It's so perfect with the like classic Italian espresso flavor. And that's why I chose Il Caffè. I really, it takes me right back to being in Italy, to the decadence that is Italy. So you guys should definitely make this recipe and definitely engage and kind of see which of the Nespresso Festive collection is your favorite. It's so good. So does anybody have any questions that they want to ask? I'm going to turn comments on now if you guys want to kind of ask me any questions about this recipe or about the Festive collection. I'm so happy to kind of share my journey, anything about the recipe, anything about the holidays. I know that this year the holidays are looking different for all of us, but I wholeheartedly believe that it's up to us to decide how we want to celebrate. And there's so much opportunity to celebrate on our own terms with our family, even in a more intimate setting. I believe that you should still create this beautiful environment in your home. I think beauty and delicious food and baking and Nespresso just like can elevate your entire experience surrounding the holidays. I know for me, cooking together with my family, with my son, with my mom, really just kind of lifts the spirit. So let's talk holiday, let's talk the Festive collection.
I have a lot of questions about how do you candy the fruit?
The way that I candy the fruit is just with some water and with some sugar, and then putting the citrus in there and letting that coat. I'm also happy to kind of share that recipe with Nespresso and they can pass that along to you. But this recipe for the cake is also going to be shared on Nespresso's channel. So definitely take a look and we'll make sure that that's available for you.
What kind of chocolate do you use?
I have used either semi-sweet or bittersweet chocolate. I think either of them work. I usually just use whichever one I have on hand, but they're both incredibly delicious. So that's what I used.
Can you use berries instead of citrus?
Absolutely. You can absolutely use berries instead of citrus. I have done so many different flavors with this berry cake. I've done berries before. I've done pears. I really like pear and chocolate. I've actually put tahini in here. Tahini and chocolate is really nice together. You can absolutely use any kind of fruit and flavoring that you want. This is just a base recipe that you can fold in other flavors with ease.
Will the cake hold well if baked the day before?
Definitely. You can definitely bake this the day before. Just make sure that you cover it and you don't dress it. You can bake it down the day before, just keep it covered and room temperature. It's absolutely perfect. And one thing I forgot to add is I really love to serve this either with whipped cream or creme fraiche. I really love that tanginess.
What is your favorite Nespresso coffee that would go best with the cake?
For sure, the Caffè goes amazing with this cake, and that's why I chose to do this pairing together. Again, the Caffè is really about that quintessential classic Italian espresso, and it just has that kind of silky texture and that classic Italian aroma. So I'd really encourage you to try the Caffè.
How do you incorporate tahini into the recipe?
So I would just add the tahini when you are working the chocolate. So right after you put in the egg yolks and the sugar and the vanilla, you can also put the tahini in at that point, because you want to, tahini can sometimes be really like stiff and it needs to be worked a little bit, and that's the part of the recipe when you're using a whisk, so it would be best to incorporate it then. Anything else?
Can you use a different tool to bake this recipe?
A different tool?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you don't have, I'm not sure exactly if I'm answering this question correctly, but if you don't have the electric mixer, you can absolutely hand whisk with a regular whisk to get that frothy egg whites. And I would imagine that you do not need to use the springform pan. If you just have like a regular pan, I would imagine that it would just work as well. What I love about the springform is that you can, it's in the oven so I can't show you guys, but you can just remove the surround and then you can see here that the bottom is still attached. But you can absolutely still make it in a regular baking pan.
Is the recipe in Cook Beautiful?
Yes, actually, the recipe is in Cook Beautiful. I don't put the citrus on top in Cook Beautiful. I serve it with candied kumquats on the side. But I thought for this presentation, it was prettier to kind of see that citrus, see the citrus on top. But yes, you can find the recipe on Nespresso website, but you can also find it in Cook Beautiful. So, I guess the questions have wound down, and I just wanted to thank you guys for following along. I love to engage with people. I love to share recipes. I love to talk about my philosophy in marrying both the beauty of food and the flavors of food. And this was just a really fun activation to engage in, and also to engage with you guys and Nespresso. So please remember, if you make the recipe, please hashtag Nespresso Editions, tag Nespresso. You could tag iSwoon, me as well if you want, and we'll share your images. But first and foremost, and most importantly, I hope everyone has a really beautiful and safe holiday season. And Nespresso, thank you so much. I love working together with you, and this has been a really fun and exciting project to work on together. So bye everyone. You can follow me at iSwoon on Instagram, and hope to see you soon. Bye.